Brilliant. And we can check that this 0 stops it by starting and stopping. So it starts playback when you give the SF player 1 and stops when you give it a 0. Let's do something a bit more interesting with this. So let's unlock. Let's use this. I promised you in the last tutorial we would use something called key. Remember that was being used to full screen our JIT.window. Anyway, let's create an object again, just to be predictable, and type in the word key. You'll notice there's also a key up, which is also the key object reports the code of a key, and key up reports the code of a key being released or being unpressed, if you like. So we're creating this thing called key, and just to have a look at what's going on, let's put a number box on this left outlet. So again, go to the palette, get a number box, connect the left outlet of the key to the inlet of the number box, and I'll tell you to lock the patch now, which is Command click in empty space, Control click if you're on a PC. Mostly because typing on the keyboard will create objects, which is something we should get into in the future. But you'll see when you've got your patch locked that this key, the value coming out of key, changes when you click on various keys on your keyboard. If you can tell what I'm writing now, then you obviously know your ASCII keys pretty well. So this, these codes are what most software that you use, it takes these codes and interprets them generally as letters, so that your word processor, every piece of software you have uses these numbers for checking key codes. Alright, we want to use this number. Let's say I'm going to use this number here. If I scroll over this right inlet of SF Play, it says speed input, and I can give that a float. Since these values in here look like they're quite high, and I know that this speed input goes from 1 is like normal speed, 0.5 would be half speed, 2 would be twice the speed of playback. These values are going to be really pretty high. So I'm going to scale those values coming from key using an object. Let's make a new object, sure. Using an object called scale. Right. So scale is a very useful object for scaling values, and it takes an input range. Let's say our input range is 0 to 127. And it maps that input range to an output range of, let's say in this case we'll put 0 point, you can put a floating point value there, and 2 point. So just to have a look at what I've typed in to scale, input range 0 to 127, and an output range 0 to 2. Okay. So I'll take the number that I have from this number box and stick it into the left inlet of my scale. I'll take the outlet of scale and I'll stick it in the right inlet of the SF Play. Okay, now when we lock the patch again, command click in the empty space, or if you're on a PC you can control click in that space. Now when I type on my keyboard and then hit this toggle, I'll get playback at different speeds. Okay, so now we've got different speed playback, but what we might want is to have this key value also trigger playback. And let's create actually we could duplicate this message here. So if I hold the Alt Option key on a Mac or Alt key on a PC, since all I want is another message, I can duplicate this by holding down Option or Alt and clicking and dragging. And I don't want it to say open, I want it to say 1. So I just type the number 1 in that message box. And I can take we can take this outlet here of this number box, connect it to the left inlet of the message box, in case we can't see it's the left inlet. And let's connect that to the playing of the SF play, the left inlet of SF play. So now if we lock this patcher, so we're holding down Command, clicking in the empty space, now we should be able to play back every time we hit a key. Okay, so that concludes this tutorial, and I hope you have hours of fun playing back at the Cherokee.